What happens when you combine a traditional film collectors convention and a TV station? And how do two so seemingly different entities find each other? Welcome to another episode of the Humming Projector podcast, where we will talk about BFCC Lite, a convention that will be held the 29th of September in the UK. Two of the guests today have been here before. Last year, in episode 3, we talked about BFCC, the British Film Collectors Convention, which returned after a few years' hiatus. One of them is John Clancy, and welcome back to the podcast, John. It's very good to see you again.
Thank you very much, Elvin. Good to be here.
And the second guest is Mark Williams, who also happened to be my guest in the previous episode about his new book, Bootleg Cinema. He's the first guest to be in 2 subsequent episodes, who shows that he's a man of many talents. Welcome back to the podcast, Mark.
Sorry, listeners, not me again. Yeah. Hi, Elvin. Always great to catch up with you.
How are things going with the release of your new book?
Excellent. Yeah, we started a mini book tour yesterday. So we had an event at a record shop in Worthing, which is on the south coast. It was good. Yeah, I enjoyed it. And I took the projector out and. Well, I cheated. I took a video projector out and then showed some digests, which I've uploaded and things. So it was good. Yeah. Sold a few books as well. So it's all good. All going very well.
That sounds great. I loved your book, by the way. And I know I also have the physical copy. So.
Thank you. And we hit. I think it was number 2. In the horror sci-fi category last month as well, so it's good. And it went out. It goes up and down. It was up to number 14 a couple of weeks ago, so it's.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely chuffed to bits, really. And it's such a niche subject, really, isn't it? So, very pleased.
The next BFCC will be hosted together with Talking Pictures TV, a British TV station, and I'm delighted to welcome my third and final guest today, Sarah Stanley, co-founder of Talking Pictures TV and managing director of Renowned Pictures Limited. Welcome to the podcast, Sarah.
Thank you for having me. Nice to be here.
We will get back to BFCC and talk more about this year's event, but as many of the listeners are not living in the UK, and I'm one of them, and perhaps haven't even heard about this TV channel, I would love to learn a little bit more about Talking Pictures.
Sacrilege. Hasn't heard of Talking Pictures. I think you better cut that bit out, Elvin.
My impression was, when I was in Blackpool, my impression was that everybody knew what it was, of course, and everybody talked about Talking Pictures, and I've never heard about it, so I thought, what is this Talking Pictures? I heard it in conversations all around the table, so I learned what it was, but now today I will hopefully learn a bit more about the TV channel. And it sounded fascinating, so I'm very happy to learn more today. It might look strange to talk about a TV station in a podcast about film and film collection at first glance, but there are several reasons why I find this interesting as a film collector, and we'll get back to that. As I mentioned, I heard people talk about this in Blackpool, so I realized this was a big thing in the UK, and I looked up some numbers before we started this recording, and I can see that about 4 million people tune in every month. I don't know if that number is still relevant, but it was a couple of years ago, I think. 5 million now.
5 million a week.
A week! I just have to mention that my wife worked for the NRK, the Norwegian equivalent of the British broadcasting, and we are 5.5 million people in Norway. So, I mean, 5 million a week is... It's a very comparable number to the Norwegian broadcasting. Impressive to say the least. And you are 68 million in the UK, as far as I know. So that's very, very high numbers.
I think it works out something like 1 in 5 of the over 65s watch Talking Pictures TV on a regular basis. Wow. It's quite astonishing, yeah.
I don't think we have... Perhaps the main channel of NRK has that kind of numbers, but I can't see any other channel that could even get close to that. So what kind of a TV channel is this? And in which way does it differentiate from the other TV stations?
So Talking Pictures TV has been on the air for almost 10 years now. We're just approaching our 10th year. And it's run by me and my dad. My dad's 77, still works 7 days a week with me. And he decided that his age group had been forgotten about and that there was nothing on terrestrial British TV that he wanted to watch anymore. He's not bothered about who's snogging who in a bikini. And he wanted to champion film. We used to sell films. That was our background. We were distributors. So we own a large archive of British B films, which I'm very proud to say. And we used to supply all the main big terrestrial channels, BBC, Channel 4, ITV, with their afternoon black and white film, and then it all just stopped. And he said, this is ridiculous. People still want to watch film. There's a massive appetite for it. There's a massive appetite for black and white. Why is it all being abandoned? All the TV series for the over 65 age group as well were kind of being forgotten about. And so we went everywhere. We went round all the major terrestrial channels, a lot of Sky channels, the satellite, one of the biggest satellite providers over here, and said, look, we've got this idea. We want to launch a channel that plays predominantly black and white, but there'll be other things as well, and sort of TV series that have long been forgotten. And everybody told us we were bonkers. Don't do it. Nobody wants to watch black and white telly. Nobody's interested in black and white films. You're barking up the wrong tree. You're 30 years too late. And I'm pleased to say, almost 10 years later, and an audience of, as we said, 5 million a week, they were wrong. So out of that, it's not just about bringing films to the screen. We don't play Gone with the Wind. There's no point. Everybody's seen it. But what we do play is a very rare black and white British B that was made on the South Coast in 1952 that no one's ever heard of, but it's probably got some of the biggest names of British film in their early roles. So we do play them. We play lovely little shorts in between the films. They've been a great treasure trove for us, and we've got them at BFCC conventions before. I should state that we have to go and get the official licenses and copyrights in place before we play them. Obviously, we don't just whack it on a press play and hope for the best. So yes, we play shorts in between and series as well. We're very fortunate we own the Southern Television Drama Archive, apart from Wurzel. So we've managed to dip into that as well. And then we started licensing from other big libraries. And when we first went to them, we were going to big archives, and a lot of the British films, don't forget, are owned by American archives now. So we were going to them with a wish list, and they didn't even know they owned these films. So it was quite a long research process. A lot of the deals that we're doing now have taken us years and years. For example, something like a British institution of tea time telly would be Z-Cars. I mean, everybody used to watch Z-Cars, knows the theme tune. And that's taken us about 10 years to open the doors of the BBC archive to get some of the episodes out. So it's a really long process. But out of that has been a lot of fun as well, because we started producing our own content. So we have a Friday night at 9:00 horror double bill, which is led by the fabulous, gorgeous screen queen Caroline Munro, who I adore. And then we started this project based on Dad's. I'd love to show you this, but it's like full of, I don't know, I think I've got about 4,000 cans of film in this one tiny office. I can't really open the door. No.
Yeah. We need to see it.
And then Dad's got his Steam Deck there that he views stuff on as well.
Knowing your dad, half of it's probably nitrate. So
Yeah, we've got quite a bit of nitrate in here, yeah. And
you better pull that fag out.
And so we then came and produced our own show called The Footage Detectives, which became a bit of a national sensation. So the idea, it's Sundays at 5:00. The idea is it's Noel, my dad, and Mike Reed, who's a big, well-known broadcaster, who also has a massive, although he's known for radio, he's got a massive passion for preserving film. And so they do this show at 5:00. It's filmed in my sister's old bedroom. And they find bits of film, talk about bits of film. Viewers send film in and say, do you know where this is? And they run Super 8, 9.5, you name it, we've played it. They have a little chat about nostalgia and memories. But it's just been an overnight sensation. I cannot tell you. It's now got an audience of, last weekend, 188,000 viewers tune in every Sunday at 5 and half watch the repeat again 6 weeks later. So, and that is all about digging out old bits of film. So really, us and the BFCC are kind of the same but different. You know, we have got a lot of synergy between preserving them. I can't throw film away. I've never ever thrown a piece of film away, even if it is a very old mouldy bit of nitrate, or a Super 8 that's probably never going to be watched ever. That's kind of why I've got this film archive collection sitting here that really needs to be sorted out. Yeah, that's us. That's Talking Pitch TV. It's all free as well, and we do a free online catch-up service, which you might want to look at actually, because some of the content, like the footage detectives, can be watched abroad for free.
Yeah, I tried to look up that. So I find some of those clips because I guess because of rights, most of what you're providing is only available in the UK, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense. But sad though for me living in Norway.
I know. One day I'll go global.
Yeah.
Get yourself a VPN.
Yeah,
Elgin.
I know. There are ways to get a UK IP address, but for regular watching, that will be harder. That's incredible. It sounds like what you're providing there is actually you could take any film show at any convention, and that sounds like what you can find on the TV.
Yeah.
More or less,
yeah.
like shorts and as much of the same films.
It's like a visit to the movies or a proper film show every evening, isn't it, Sarah? And between the shows, you get a still of an auditorium and a cinema, then you get the countdown on screen.
And this all started off. I explained to Elvin a couple of days ago about Renown, where you started off with DVDs, didn't you? And they were quite legendary, weren't they? Because you were bringing a lot of these British B movies out. Nobody hasn't seen for years. Good titles like Merton Park studio productions and things, weren't they?
Scrooge is my proudest.
And it's getting harder and harder to find any way to watch those old movies. If you go to Netflix or any of the streaming services, you hardly find any black and white.
That will change.
Yeah.
Mark my word.
But that was public domain, wasn't it, Scrooge? I think.
George Minter. We brought it from the George Minter archive.
Because there was a scandal back in the Super 8 day. They released, I think DCR had the UK rights to release Scrooge. We did a 400-foot and a feature version. And then Columbia actually in the USA released their 400-foot. So there was a big hoo-ha and they banned any imports. But I mean, people still imported them. There's nothing to stop you getting a copy over, but it was quite scandalous at the time, and half the battle trying to find out who owns the copyright, isn't it, Sarah?
It's so tough trying to trace that trail. And the thing is, a lot of the times, some of the big archives will not have brought the whole collection from that producer. They'll only have brought a certain number, so then you're back to square one trying to find out who but of course the nightmare thing is we've done all the hard work, and now there's other people that riding our waves, shall we say, to put it nicely, which is frustrating, when you've worked so hard for 10 years to have people come along and nick your idea. But, what can you do?
And one question I think I know the answer to, but I'll ask it anyway. Why did you choose to make a TV station and not provide a streaming service of the same content as you have a large archive?
Because my audience aren't into streaming yet.
Exactly.
My target audience.
I expected you to say that. Yeah.
I mean, they are getting there. I mean, when we launched our online catch-up service, I've been absolutely over the moon at the numbers. And I didn't think anybody would use that service or watch it, or, the fact that you have to press the red button on your remote to connect to the screen I just thought it was way too, I mean, I get calls every day for, have I got this on VHS? And can I help them with their Sky remote because they don't know which button to press to record, things like that. So streaming, I think, for the majority of my audience is a little bridge too far, but it will come, and I've got to be ready for it.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's that far away. It looks like we will launch our first app before the end of the year.
Right.
Brilliant. No, that's good, isn't it? Yeah, they'll soon get the hang of it, I think. If you make it easy for them, then...
Yeah, I'll put you on viewer customer services. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, okay.
And after I am collecting films for 10, 15 years, something like that. And I realized there are a lot of characters in this hobby. And I guess how should I put it? Your audience is probably a little bit different than the audience of the BBC, perhaps. Would you say that your audience is perhaps more colorful?
If you come, so we do a lot of live events as well, which are community based, and most of them have audiences of about 1,500 people each event. Between 500 and 750 people are our smaller ones. And I would say the mix of those that support us and come to almost every event around the country, no matter where they live or where the event is, you do see the same faces. And yeah, there are a lot of colourful characters.
Are they the Talking Pictures groupies we're talking
Yeah,
about now, are we?
means a lot, but that is the nice thing about Talking Pictures. It's got like a community feel. Like when we launched, we didn't want it to be any kind of big commercial expanding never-ending channel. It was a service, almost like a public service without the public service funding. That's what it was. That it was a community feel. We're all on this journey together, and we get suggestions. I mean, our post bag is 2,000-3,000 letters every other day of people suggesting films they'd like to see, or series, or why can't we play, or have we thought of, or just posting in a VHS and telling us to play it on Tuesday at 2:00. Or reels of film. I mean, we have been inundated with people that don't want their collections to just go to landfill. For them sending in boxes and boxes and boxes of film, which is lovely. That they feel like we're a good home. I love that. It's important.
Let's circle a little bit back to films. You have a large collection of films, but they are mostly shown on TV, right? So do you take some films from the collection and show them on projectors at any of the events? Or how is the TV station's relationship to the actual film celluloid, except for as a source material? Is there any...
So, well, I would say that we're one of the only channels that does still use film as their source material. I mean, I can't think of another channel where it's not just file-based straight away from day one. We still on a daily basis work with 60mm and 35mm. I don't think there's any other TV stations in the world like that. And that's good because we get to see the film through the whole process, through, from it arriving, cleaning, transfer, cleaning again and again and again and again, trying to do a bit of de-sparkle and whatever. We do work with files as well. I mean, a lot of the big Americans that we buy from archives obviously don't want to lend us their cans of film. They want to provide us with a file. But yeah, it's a very hands-on TV station with film, I would say. I honestly don't think there's any other channel like that. Anyway.
No, and perhaps many of the 60mm films that you get, I guess at least half of my 60mm collection has originated from TV stations, because that was the way they was distributed, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Back in the day. So no, they actually circle back to...
I bet you've got loads of stuff I'm looking for.
Perhaps, yeah.
I mean, that was the biggest problem, in TV's day, and Dad worked in telly as well, I mean, he was an editor for years.
Yeah.
They didn't look after it. It went out and it went on the floor, or it was reused, or just never. I mean, it's criminal, really. And I'm hoping we've learnt from that in some way, shape, or form.
And you can find so many very small subjects. Like for instance, I have an instructional film for interpreting weather maps for pilots during World War II, for instance.
Love
I mean,
it.
how can you find that in any other way than on film?
Well, I think you should get that broadcast, Sarah.
Yeah, love it. One of my proudest moments is I found a Sid James short about budgerigars. So it's not Sid being Sid, it's Sid telling you how to look after your budgerigar. And I've never seen an audience laugh so much when I played it at one of our events as well. And I've just found
Sid James is always good with birds.
Sid.
He certainly was, yeah.
I've just found an Anthony Newley short that's been lost, an episode from a series, Foreign Legion. Cracking series. I mean, it had big audience numbers, and yet I found one episode. The rest of it, nobody knows where it is. It's so sad.
Terrible, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, the BBC's had to. I mean, they were using back in the late 70s. They were just erasing. They had these big, 10-inch tapes or whatever. They were just erasing them to put new programming on. It's just crazy, isn't it? It's a lot of the Top of the Pops episodes are missing and things, so terrible. Very sort of penny pinching way to go about things, really.
They were even slinging the 16mm masters into skips. So
yeah.
It was only because a lot of the people who worked at the BFCs, at the BBC, were film collectors, that these things have actually been returned.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, one of my gems, I won't mention the title here on the podcast, but one of my gems was saved by a person now deceased, but that I knew, that worked driving a garbage truck, and his colleagues knew about his hobby. And one day, a person came to him and said, there's a film library that we're going to collect to send it to the trash. Do you want that job? And he said, of course. And he took the truck, emptied the entire load, went to the film archive, and they said, oh, you're here too early. We're supposed to chop it up with an axe first. And he said, no need, because we'll crush it into the garbage truck here. So with several tons there, no need for that. And he loaded it carefully, filled his whole truck full of it, got back to his house, pushed the entire load into his garage. And this major hall, you can find films from that hall all over the world today. And I can't imagine how many titles were saved that way, because without that, so I mean, back in the day, that would be looked at as criminal, but today it's like everybody's happy that they were saved.
So Elvin, during the COVID years, you see a lot of people were dying, not only from COVID, but other things that they were doing to people. And this meant collectors were going to the grave and no provision had been made for the film collectors. And John Franklin in particular was getting involved in this. And so there's a lot of films that have gone into the landfill. And that's it, they've gone. Nothing we can do, it's gone. And it turned out, through speaking to all the National Archives about this very problem, apart from Talking Pictures and some other people around the world really, who are doing a few bits here and there was no one actually offering any sort of service to save people's film collections and keep them on the market. So hopefully now there is a national service, but we'll get onto that later. Still in the early stages, but that's an offshoot. Came about because of the BFCC last year.
And it's fascinating, though, that in the community where I am in Norway, many collect film because they want something different than what's on TV. And ironically now, I see that this TV station is probably one of the best ways to raise awareness about everyday, regular man in the street about this treasure that's out there. So perhaps in a way, the TV can be a huge contributor to the film collecting hobby as well. For me, that's quite fascinating. So what would you say is the most important thing you have learned after creating this TV channel? Did you get any surprises from what you had expected?
I haven't slept much in 10 years.
I can imagine.
Don't do it would be my advice to anyone thinking of doing something similar. It's a rock and roll roller coaster because financially you have no idea what we have to find to keep it going. And because we're free to air, we're advertising funded. That's it. Yeah. That's why I do all the events and calendars and DVDs and books and whatever I can think of, because advertising revenue for terrestrial telly is on its bottom. It's probably at the low. I think that today's report in all the trade industry magazines said something like it's down by 60% or something ridiculous. I mean, it's just like peddling in treacle.
Is that down on 60% from last year, though, Sarah, or is it from several years ago?
It'll be from last year, yeah.
Good grief.
Yeah. It's massively down, and the bills, obviously, in the current crisis,
going up,
are all going up.
Yeah.
So it is a rocky time, and that's why I'm saying, the app and things like that, is something that have got to happen because the actual terrestrial platforms are just getting too expensive. And one thing Dad and I were passionate about from day one was that we wanted to be free. Because there are a lot of people that want to watch us that just couldn't afford any kind of subscription. With the current announcements on the over 65s losing their winter fuel payments and, I just think, thank God. I mean, it's very, very humbling to be answering these phones Christmas time and in the winter.
I can imagine.
I mean, COVID itself was just horrific because if it taught me anything, it was how many lonely people there are out there that didn't have anybody to ring but me and Dad, and to have a chat about what they just watched and what a lifeline Talking Pictures was for them. Christmas time is It's quite tough. You know, I mean, we answer the phone all day long, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, Christmas Eve night, Christmas Day night, because, you know, if we didn't, everybody goes, you're mad. But if we didn't, I don't think some of these people would ever speak to anybody.
Yeah.
You know,
Terrible, isn't it? Yeah.
it's tough. It's really tough. And I am really worried about how the older people in the UK are going to be affected. These are all thank you cards and stuff. I don't know if you can see this, but there's just thousands around the office of people telling me how Talking Pictures has changed their life. I mean, how many people send a Christmas card as well, or a thank you card to a TV channel? Do you know what I mean? It's crazy, isn't it? But I love it. I just love it. It makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's obvious to me that this is more than a job to you, from what you say.
It's a passion. It's not a very corporate money making thing. I assure you.
If you have started this TV channel today, would you have done this differently than you did when you started it?
We weren't broadcasters. You know, Dad and I were both in telly, or in showbiz, as glam as it is. But we weren't broadcasters. I mean, we were always the other side of the camera and everything. You know, it was a massive learning curve, learning everything that you had to do from start to finish, and all the tape around what you can broadcast. I mean, that's a whole other podcast, but it's very difficult, you know, making sure you're complying to every single legal beagle as well at the same time as trying to keep it going as a business. You know, it's tough, really tough. Would I have done anything different? Yeah, probably. I'm not going to tell you what then.
That's fair.
Do you have to have two different versions, like one for the afternoon broadcast, that was like a carry-on type film or something, a little bit rude or something, and then you have a different version for the evening or something? Probably what's that Dick Henry film? Oh, You Are Awful. I know that got censored.
We can't show boobs.
No.
Can't show boobs, glorify boobs. You can show boobs if it's art. But you can't show glorified boobs. No, you'd have to cut those out for data. Jesus, Mark, I'd be inundated with.
I can imagine you would be.
Heart attack victims.
Well, when you broadcast the Texas Chainsaw Massacre that afternoon, you had to cut it. But when you showed it after 9 o'clock the same day, it was uncut. It was great.
That is a prime example of a film that I would never play. Ever.
Oh, well, we'll have to settle on Cannibal Holocaust then. Oh, there's all those Umberto lenses, isn't there? And,
I want to see the afternoon version then.
That'd be about 12 minutes long. That's the titles. Yeah, there are a lot of, and some of them are ridiculous. Some of them are just like, you know, and then I get complaints because I've put a board up to tell people that some of you might be offended. Doesn't matter, watch it anyway or not, you know. But that's, as I said, that's a whole other podcast, because that would take me forever to explain why I have to cut certain words at certain times and why I don't. But I mean, the annoying thing is we don't have kids watching us. You know, I mean, I had a complaint. What was the complaint I had the other week? So we do Saturday morning pictures. Every Saturday on the channel, 9 till 12, we recreate that kind of, you know, Flash Gordon, and we've got Batman now and Captain Scarlet. And we do the older ones as well. So we do like Phantom Creeps and the Phantom Empire, you know, real cliffhanger ones. And we did have a load of films from the BFI for Children's Film Foundation as well, but they can't find a lot of them, which is very annoying. Anyway, in between these films and series, there was one advert, and I think it was for a headache tablet or something really grown up, but not, you know, it wasn't a sex toy. You know, it was something grown up, but not, you know. Oh my God, this guy phoned. He was fuming. Children are going to be watching this. I said, I can tell you now, the children that are watching this are 77 plus. They were all watching
Young
because
at
they
heart.
were kids when it was on at the cinema. There's not a chance you will get a 12 or 13-year-old watching a black and white serial from the 1930s on Flash Gordon. I'd love to think you would, but they just won't watch it. And I was trying. He was convinced that this 9 till 12 Saturday morning pictures was being watched by kids, and I was like, mate, I wish it was, but I assure you.
Well, all the kids watch Flesh Gordon now, don't they? If they're watching a Flesh
yeah,
Gordon.
that's like a PG now, though, isn't it? Really, it's just so tame. I think anyway. Isn't it,
It caused a scandal at the time, didn't it? It's amazing you look at it. Actually, Sarah, you mentioned having to put a warning on front of things. I had to look at the. I did a review of the 4K of Highlander recently, and before Highlander, they've got a caption saying, "This represents historical views that some may find offensive." So I stopped the disc, took it out, threw it across the room, and said, "Who the hell is going to find anything in Highlander offensive? It's just incredible." But there it was.
I think I found Christopher Lambert's Scottish accent very offensive, actually, when I watched it. But, it was a great film, though. Yeah.
Circling back to the BFCC Lite, we covered BFCC and its history in episode 3, as I mentioned. But I was fascinated about this combined event that you are now planning. So how did you two, BFCC and Talking Pictures, find each other for this event?
Sarah's idea, so she can fill us in.
I love it. Yeah, it's all her fault.
He's sitting back now.
Well, basically, we've supported the BFCC forever. I mean, we had stalls there. We've had stalls. Oh, donkey! Wasn't it Ealing where we used to go? Was it Ealing, guys? The BFCC.
Yeah, Ealing. Yeah.
I mean, Dad's been. I think he wheeled me in a pushchair to sell films. I mean, that's how long ago we've been going to these conventions. And then I sat here the other a few months back, and I thought, I haven't had an email about a BFCC convention. I thought, well, this is strange. Why are we not? And then I phoned the 9.5 Club up, and I said, guys, I haven't had an email about, do we want to join? He said, no, we're not doing conventions anymore. And then I spoke to Mark about the BFCC, and he said, no. He said, we've got nothing planned. We're trying to get something off the ground, but there's nothing happening. I was like, well, this is crazy. We should do something. Whose silly idea was that? And,
well volunteered, eh? Yeah, great idea, Sarah. Get out there, find us a venue, sort it out, and we'll ride on the coattails and take all the credit.
So 10,000 emails about trestle tables later. Here we are. And, we thought we'd do it a little bit different. We haven't advertised it on the channel because I'm very aware that we're kind of targeting two different people. We're targeting the film collectors who want to come and have a rummage and get a reel, REEL bargain. And then we've got the DVD lot that want to come and get a DVD bargain. And then we've got those that just want to come and have a cup of tea and a roll and meet Brian Murphy, Linda Reagan and Madeline Smith and have a good day out. It's a real cross section. So we did pre-sell tickets, so we know we've got enough bums on seats to cover our costs. But I am hoping that lots more film collectors will come and try because we're taking thousands of reels, and there's lots of stalls as well that will have unusual collection items and things like that. So I'm excited. I'm really excited. I think it's so nice to be in touch with collectors. I think it's important.
And the BFCC Lite name. I think we ought to explain the BFCC Lite name. Now, this is something Keith Wilton and I have been talking about for years because I think we probably discussed it on the last podcast that film collector conventions have been on the way out for a long time. And having been at the cliff face of this, I know about it only too well. So when we were effectively put out of business in Ealing, it's, we decided to take a break, and I was thinking maybe 3 years. By the time that 3 years was up, of course, we had the COVID-19 pandemic, and Keith wasn't particularly well, and he'd been organising it as the main organiser by himself since 1981, I think.
Wow!
And so it was important to get him back for a sort of a resurrection of the BFCC at Chorleywood last year. That was supposed to be a first one, just to see if it would still be possible to run something. But the Chorleywood venue, which surprisingly didn't turn out to be big enough because more people came in than any of us thought. And so we had to make the best of it. And in fact, we put Sarah and Dad in the main room where we were having the cinema. That was not expected, but that was our fallback position. And we had about, 6 dealers in there, Mark, in the end, didn't we?
It was
But
just incredible. It was just so
yeah.
it was great. Everybody met up again. It's such a long time with COVID and things,
Yep.
and everybody's met up, and
And Keith was there as the maitre d', if that's the right name, as usual. But he wasn't well, and he's even worse today. I haven't seen him since, but I've kept in touch through Robin Maynard, who goes to see him every other week. So I know what's going on. But anyway, we got a few things sorted out for that Chorleywood one, and the important thing is that we found the screen here and there in Keith's place, and it was saved, really. So that's now here. So we've got the big screen, and that's fundamental to a full-blown BFCC, because that's what people expect when they come along to a BFCC. It's bigger and it's better than anywhere else in terms of putting films on the screen for just the one-day film fair, collectors fair. So we've got the screen, and we've really just got to find a better venue. I mean, Chorleywood was okay. It was a good way to come back, but we couldn't really go back there this year because it would not be as successful again, which would mean the margins. How do you cover your costs?
Difficult to park there. I think that's one thing.
that was one of the that was the
It's got that slope, and a lot of our attendees, you mentioned a slope.
Yeah, it'd be all right if it was snowing and they had skis, but there is actually another car park just up the back by the railway station, and there's all sorts of things you can do there, but it's problematic. So ideally, we want to find a better venue. So Sarah suggested she find somewhere, and she found this. What's it called? It's the
County Club.
The County Club. That's it. It's St Albans County Club, and it's right next door to the railway station, isn't it, Sarah?
Perfect.
Literally. Loads of free parking for Sundays. Got its own car park. Got a lovely licensed bar, so everybody can have a bottle of ginger beer. And
don't tell Mark there's a licensed bar. That'll be the last we see of him all day.
I'll be signing books on the counter on the bar.
It's got lovely little decking bits. I'm hoping the weather might be nice because people could sit outside for a bit then as well.
Yeah.
It's got a little stage bit. It's got a huge dealer's room. I mean, massive. And it's run by a really nice chap and his daughter, and which resonates with me.
That's great.
But it's not. This is why the BFCC Lite name was used, though, because what Keith and I have been discussing for years was maybe doing a smaller event where we just got dealers in, and maybe we had a little screening room perhaps. And so that's effectively what we're doing here.
Yeah, this is what we, what we tried to do with Keith, wasn't it? When I think the fateful one where we tried to organise one at Ealing again at the school, and then we found out a couple of weeks before there was a marathon on that day, the Ealing marathon that day. So.
No one would have been able to get to the school.
No, that was a showstopper. So unless the dealers came up, or the public wouldn't be able to get in after 8 a.m., they wouldn't be able to get up to that particular road. So it was that was a shame, because obviously I worked a bit, with Keith on that one quite a bit, but lots of calls, wasn't there, and trying to get it off. But Chorleywood it was staggeringly successful, wasn't it? I think
it was, yeah.
I couldn't believe, queues of people. You don't see queues these days. They were queuing around the block.
How many attendees did you get to that one? Do you think, guys?
It was well over 150, Sarah, but we don't actually know the exact number.
No.
We had a lot of guests who sneaked in through an open back door.
Oh yeah, it was a nightmare. Yeah,
my goodness.
Yeah, I managed to chase a couple and get a $5 off them, but so you can't get them all, can you? But it was it was great. It was really, really pleased. We had a couple of guests. We had Dave McGillivray. He did a very good sort of opening Master of Ceremonies speech, didn't he? PA system packed up. That wasn't so good.
Oh.
So, but he's from the theatrical background. I could throw one's voice. So that's what we did. We had punk pop star Spiz Energy doing his Laurel and Hardy show. So that's definitely a one-off, isn't it? I don't think anybody punk and the the BFCC. We haven't seen its like, have we?
But it was like a traditional BFCC that
Yeah.
Keith had been doing for years, but on a slightly
Yeah,
smaller scale.
lots of film.
But what had
About
we been doing for years? I mean, I know we didn't have 16 mil that day, but we had Super 8, lots of it. We had video projection, which this time was 4K video projection, and we had Simon Nichols giving us the most fabulous 35 mil shows I think we've ever had.
yeah.
And the great news is about St Albans is Ben Wales is going to be back on the team. Now, I don't know if any of you can remember, but Ben actually gave us 70mm shows at the Ealing
I
Town
remember that
Hall.
one. Yeah.
And in fact, he was on the front cover of small format magazine.
You're not planning 70mm this time, are you?
No,
Sorry,
but
John?
he's.
You get me worried now.
Now, Keith, we might not be able to get Keith there this time, but this I think is quite nice. I think I've told you all, but when Keith got his 35mm portable Xenon machine, he already had and was using at the convention a standard version of that machine. It's a Spectra 90. And this standard version had been modified because the Xenon lamp had packed up and no one wanted to spend the money on a replacement. So they put a normal 250 watt incandescent lamp in it and made it work with a condenser lens. And we actually used that in the Queen's Hall in the Ealing Town Hall downstairs to project onto the 24-foot wide screen. Now, you couldn't see a damn thing in that room. We even blacked out the exit signs in order that we could get this on the screen.
Keith was up on the ladder, wasn't he, on a pile of books on a ladder on top.
Oh, don't talk about Keith up the ladder.
How he didn't,
nervous breakdown.
Fall. Yeah.
Well, he did fall off it one night, and that was anyway. That's another story.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point of this is that when he got his Xenon portable, there were two of them, and he phoned me up and he said, because we used to speak every day except Saturday and Sunday, it was and sometimes then as well, but we'd speak for about half an hour every day, and every conversation was always the next convention. What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? And so he phoned me up. He said, John, I've just been offered a pair of the Chinese portables with Xenon lamps for £1,500. I said, well, if you like, Keith, we'll go halves and I'll have one of them. And he said, unfortunately, John, it doesn't work like that, because they both use the same power pack for the striking of the lamps. And I thought you'd have to cut the word that I said, Elvin. But anyway, I said something that meant cobblers. And then I said, well, how about we still go halves and I have your existing projector? And he said, deal. Right, so that was obviously what his thinking was. So that projector has been with me now for well over 20 years. And of course, it dropped out of being the BFCC 35mm projector. But anyway, because we're doing the county hall in St Albans and it's going to be a smaller screen, well, that projector's been to Noel Pratt. He's put an HID 150 lamp in it, so it's still in the same case, still the same dimensions, weighs a damn sight more than it did. But he's put a 150 watt lamp in it, but the sound was still poor. So Ben Wales came over, now he's back on the team. He looked at the projector here. And he tried to get Dolby sound working from it properly, and nothing was working. So he's taken it home with him. He's bringing it back on Saturday, and he's actually got a proper Dolby cell installed in it. And he's going to try and hook it up to a Dolby processor, so we'll be able to have a couple of 35mm shows at BFCC Lite. So it'll be BFCC Lite with more elements of BFCC than we were ever expecting. Cool. So it should be. We're doing our best for everyone to put on a great show. And because through my YouTube channel, so many people are saying they want to come along, and they've never been to a film collector convention before, so it's important to show them what you can do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and we've got to mention Mark Norton. We've got our regular projectionist. He does a superb job, and he's got the souped up Elmo GS HID, is it, or something like that?
Well, I think he's got his actual Xenon working again now, isn't he?
Yeah, so this, it's fantastic. We've got new releases, so again, these aren't it's not worth doing a BFCC without new releases. And we've got a whole host of. I don't know what we've got yet, but there'll be some really good stuff on there, And we say new releases, it'll be vintage. A lot of vintage films, really.
I was going to say, don't go too new.
No, it's right up your customer street, Sarah. I'm sure it will. But
well,
probably better in the 70s, 80s, something like that.
Honestly, if I play something that's from 1982, I get inundated.
Blade Runner.
This is too new. Too new.
Having the vintage year. And I was in the film industry too. So.
But I think Mark's got the new newish cut down of True Lies, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Well, there will be some guests there too, will it? I think I saw some names that will be present at the
Oh,
BFCC
yeah.
Lite.
Well, go back
Who's
to
coming?
Hammer Horror, Sarah. Who we got coming along?
Madeline Smith.
Yeah,
Dun,
Madeline.
dun, dun.
Yeah.
Love Maddie. She's
Yeah.
as mad as a box of frogs.
Oh, she's lovely. Really nice.
Lots of fun and great stories. So she's going to be interviewed on the day by Linda Regan,
Yeah,
who again is a fabulous actress in her own right,
yeah,
and happens to be married to a very nice man called Brian Murphy.
yeah.
And Brian, bless him, he's brilliant. I mean, he worked with everybody. It's not just George and Mildred. It really aggravates me
And
when people go, "Oh, George and Mildred." I'm like,
I mean,
"Oh my god!"
his greatest
ditto.
role to me was in The Devils. Ken Russell directed him, and he's got
Yeah,
this stuff.
love him in that.
He's in the middle of this plague at the beginning with this plague scene. He's got a stuffed crocodile, and I think they're having a sword fight with it or something at one point.
And
But
Sparrows Can't Sing. I love him in Sparrows Can't Sing.
yeah,
What about Last
yeah,
of the Summer Wine? That's what I
Yeah,
know.
Last of the Summer
yeah.
Wine, of
Yeah, I
course.
mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
so
But of course, he's a BFCC
patron. Yeah.
patron as well.
he's very passionate about preserving
Yeah.
film.
So for all the listeners that are excited now, want to get to the BFCC Lite, should we repeat perhaps when and where is the event and how should people get there?
It is Sunday, 29th of September. It's 10 till 4. And if you visit our website, www.renownfilms.co.uk, you can get a ticket in advance. We've done it in 2 time slots, but if it's not busy, we're not going to kick anybody out, so don't worry. Tickets are £10. That gives you access to the whole show, all the dealer rooms, all the talks, all the film screenings. And it is at the St Albans, the County Club, which is literally next door to St Albans Station, City Station, the big one. Free parking, free car park, great easy to park on a Sunday, 10 till 4, be there or be square.
Film shows all day. I think you've got interviews going on the talking picture side, Sarah. There's going to be should be a great day for anyone who's into the movies.
Yeah, definitely, and it's cheaper than a London pint, isn't it? You know, £10. What can you get for £10 these days? You know.
Come along and have a cup of tea and a bun and have a chat as well. You know, I think that's important, getting people out and about.
Yeah, I think it's great to get everybody together, and certainly there was an appetite for it at Chorleywood, wasn't there? You know, because there were so many people. No, Jed Jones came down from Deran. You know,
It was
Rake
brilliant.
Films were there. You know, it was great. Keith and Raj.
Just to
Excellent.
get everyone back together because I hadn't seen people in 6.5 years.
No.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, so it's great to see everybody back. You know, yeah, Barry Atwood was there.
Oh yeah, that was wonderful.
So,
yeah, Bazza.
Yeah, so yeah, it's great. Yeah, all these old names there, really, you know. And there's a few good old dealers at this one as well. So
There was just that bloke from Norway who let us down. What's his name?
yeah. But he's coming to Blackpool though.
I will
so
come
that's
to
all right.
Blackpool though. I wish I could go to all the events, but yeah, I guess I have to.
Yes, well, I'm hoping to get to Blackpool as well.
Yeah.
For the first time in a very long time because for the last long time the weekend before I've been at the NEC for the Classic Motor Show, and the funny thing is I used to see Ian O'Reilly from Perry's there because he'd quite often have his Ford GT40 replica on display.
Gosh,
and so he'd come along and, hello John, hello Ian. Bring any features with you?
I will link to the pages at Renown.
Thank you.
So people can find where to buy tickets. I will link to that in the show notes. I thought we should mention a few upcoming events, other places in the world that also are coming up. Saturday, the 21st of September, we have the Nordic Film Collectors Convention here in Oslo, where I live.
Oh, lovely.
Right.
The sad part is that I can't be there because I'm a night guard at the flea market of all things, in the marching band where my son plays. But anyways, if you are able to get there, I will recommend that. So it's alternating between Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, and this year it's Norway. Thursday to Sunday, October 10 to 13, we have Synesy 29, the film collectors gathering at Shalimar Resort Conference Center in the US. You can find more information about that at the 8mm forum, where Doug and Shorty will certainly answer your questions if you have any questions about that. Friday to Sunday, November 1st to 3rd, we have the New Zealand Film Buffs Convention. And Friday to Sunday, the 15th to 17th of November, we have the Blackpool Film Collectors Convention at the Grand Hotel. I will be there, and I booked in February, actually. So it was early booking tickets, plane tickets, and booking a hotel. Thursday to Sunday, May 22nd to the 25th. In 2025, we have the Columbus Moving Picture Show in the US, in Ohio. So, are there anything I should have asked you, but failed to do so before we wrap up?
I think we've sort of covered everything, really, haven't we? I think.
Yeah.
I'll be picking up a signed movie book at St Albans by a certain Mark Williams. So I've cajoled him into making sure he's got copies there. So I'll be handing
the pens I'm worried about. He normally forgets the pen.
I'll be handing him a
pen.
bluey.
I have to carry my Sharpie with me all the time now, so you know.
So it's only left to say I wish you all the best for the convention. I hope to see some pictures and perhaps some videos if someone.
Thank you for organising this today.
No, thank you, and we really appreciate it. Thank you, darling.
So thank you so much for being here, both John, Mark, and Sarah.
Life or.
Stop it, Sarah. He's trying to do the conclusion.
I love that you're all having so much fun, though.
Go on, take 3.
Yeah, take 3. So that's all for today's episode. Thank you so much to John, Mark, and Sarah. My name is Eivind Mork, and thanks for listening.